we took like these spiritual gift classes, and I got like all the like super high powered like exorcism and miracles and like poverty and
I love that for you.
prophecy, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Wait, how did?
And so they like.
Was this like
they
take 20 questions and
was.
then it tells you like?
It was, but like based off that, they like targeted me as like, okay, we got to train this girl up as a prophet.
Oh my goodness.
You would have been a good prophet.
I feel like,
Prophetess.
yeah.
But I would like, okay, so I was like, oh, I'm a prophet, so I'm going to look at the Bible, and the Bible's like, yeah, if your prophecy is not true, you get stoned. And I'm like, they're not teaching me this. Like, I don't know how I feel about this.
That's
like, oh.
so funny.
But
Eleanor read this for us, but we're going to dare to read it again. Bones on the floor of the valley, bones that were very dry, and he asked me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I said, Sovereign Lord, you alone know.
All right, well, welcome to our third episode of our second season of New Life Cast. We have with us today Christina Doehrman. Christina, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
I'm super excited about this. You are the first person we've interviewed in like several months now. Well,
Like three?
3 months.
Yeah.
Now.
Over the holiday hump.
Yeah.
Back to routine.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you nervous, Jer?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I was feeling a little bit nervous. Like, am I gonna remember how to interview people?
Is it because you have paint in your hair?
Yeah, I do have paint in my hair, and I didn't have time to get it out, and I've got a little bit of paint on my fingers.
Okay.
But that's just kind of normal for me, though.
It makes you look like mature and wise. Like
actually,
you know?
you probably can't see it in the video, but I found a white hair in my beard. It's on one of these sides. There's a white hair in my beard.
Just more paint.
The other.
I see.
There,
I see
there
more
is
paint.
paint in my beard. But I did find like a white hair.
Okay.
And I think that's just proof that my son is killing me slowly.
He's making you wise.
That's what children are for.
Steal your youth
Yeah.
and joy.
Suck the life out
Yeah,
of
you
you.
lose a few years every kid you have just out of stress, you know.
I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of excited, for the white hair. I think
Yeah.
it's a good look.
Oh, yeah. You earn it.
Mm-hmm.
Every white hair is earned.
Yep.
Well, I'm very excited to interview you today just because I was thinking, after I sent you the questions, I was like, I should have asked about her food.
Oh, you can ask anything.
I just really like your food.
Oh, thanks.
So I'm excited to get to that. I'm like, how did you do it? Where is your meals now?
It's a really easy secret.
When I asked Elena what I should ask Christina about, that's one of the things she mentioned, was I should ask her about food.
Yeah, your food was the best part of Core Friends.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks. Cooking for you was the best part of Core Friends for me.
Oh, that's sweet.
I had so much fun. And now, I'll go and I'll cook for Derek's side of the family, and it's so easy to cook one meal for 20 people after, serving 30
Really?
for 3 days.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I just
You've
have
done
a
a lot
great
of
time.
practice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, do you think? Did we already do our introduction?
Not just whatever you're about to ask is fine.
Okay. Have you ever considered cooking for the church retreat? Because that's a ton of people, or is that too many people?
I would enjoy it for sure. I just have other things that are usually going on. So, just because I got my hubby, he's sitting there behind the camera, but I usually try to prioritize helping him out first, and so that means being there in the morning, and so I'm not always available, but I definitely would love to do that.
Yeah.
I just not available. So
Well, that's okay. We just need another reason you can cook for us.
Yes.
That's
yes, I would if I could.
and it's do you go to the Grosses family time?
I do.
Okay, so maybe I'll just start showing up there. I've been invited here and there by random people that go there, and we just always think they can't see us twice,
Oh.
They saw us last Sunday, and we pop over at their house all the time too. So I feel we feel a little bit we're
that
we're
neighborhood.
prying
You're those neighbors.
We are.
Yeah.
We showed up yesterday, just we were in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to do that so we can have some of your cooking.
Or you could just
cooking.
we could get together and I could cook for you guys
Oh,
too.
that's an option.
So,
that is.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
we could cook together, plan
That's
a
true.
fun recipe.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Well, Christina, a question we like to ask everybody And have you actually listened to any of the podcast episodes?
I have not. I'm not a huge like podcast person.
That's perfectly
so
fine. That's
I
not a
want to,
requirement.
but it's like
That's not a requirement. So one of the questions we like to ask everybody is, what is your favorite color? Mm-hmm. And what does that say about you as a person?
Gotcha. Well, I have multiple favorite colors. Like, I love any color that's like deep foresty colors, so like browns and greens and like dark purple. But it's just because like I'm a nature core girl, like to my soul. So that's why I like colors like that, because it's like nature is everything. And as far as color goes,
nature is awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then typically we would ask people which Ninja Turtle they would be, but you declined that question because
well, I've never seen like Teenage Mutant
You've never
Ninja
seen
Turtles.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
The only turtle I know is Michelangelo, and that's because Derek knows him, and Derek doesn't even know who.
Okay.
Just the name. So.
Yeah.
Oh, he only knows the name?
Yeah.
I was going to say, well, what would he think? Like, who would he think you are? But he doesn't know.
No.
Okay.
He's like, I think this is one of them, but don't ask me what.
But you suggested that we ask you what fantasy race would you be?
Yes.
If you could be one.
Yes. Thinking of like Lord of the Rings particularly. Mm-hmm. I'd definitely be like a female ranger, because I love adventure and I love fighting evil and like new things and doing hard things for like good reasons.
What would your female ranger name be? Christina Gone or something like that?
Oh gosh. I don't know. That would take a lot of deep thought. I'd have to choose that very carefully.
You'd have to study the entire language
that
Tolkien created. And
You can comment your name in the description.
Once I figure out what it is.
Figure it out, and I feel like the people want to know.
Yeah, well, the reason I need to be careful is because like I had a video game name growing up that I did not pick very carefully. Then it stuck. So I was like, between me and my brothers, I was known as Toast.
Yeah.
So, ever since then, I've had to be careful. Like, okay.
Well, that's like your email. You like choose your email when you're in junior high or something, and then you're stuck with it for the rest of your life. It feels like.
Yep.
Like I'm still Jarawapo, but that's because I was a smart child.
Yes.
And just chose my name, and I could change it now to Jara Jurgensmeyer, but it sounds like a lot of work.
That's a lot to like spell out for people who need your email. Like when you're filling out paperwork, like, how do you spell Jurgensmeyer?
That's true. I'd be like Jara Jurg or something. But...
So those long German names with all the extra letters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I would want to be a hobbit, but that's probably just because I already am a hobbit.
Yeah.
I'm already short and hairy, and I like eating food. So, I mean, I think I'm just going with that.
Yeah. The Hobbit would definitely be like runner-up. So.
Yeah, my favorite part of the Lord of the Rings, and I think this is the Lord of the Rings. I'd be very embarrassed if it's not.
It's gonna be like
I
Star
want to like
Trek
join.
or something.
Yeah, I know. I want to join the like nerdness, but I'm not sure. Was the part when the two hobbits got the like bread, the magical bread from the elves, and it was supposed to like fill up a whole, like one bite fills a whole man.
Yep.
And then like ate the whole thing. I connected with that.
Yeah.
I would, and then they were eating midnight snacks.
Yeah. So you connect with hobbits as well.
I connect with hobbits as well, yes.
Nice.
But I'm not hairy. And I don't think I'm that short, so.
No.
It's relative.
Yeah.
It depends on who you talk to.
I feel tall.
So, just to kind of get into who you are, Christina, what
Who you
is
really are? Not
what is your earliest memory?
That's actually really hard to answer because, like, as a little kid, I was very, like, dreamy and in my head and daydreamed a lot. So I can't really distinguish, like, my memories from my actual dreams.
That's funny.
But the one that sticks out is, like, I lived in the suburbs in Phoenix, Arizona. And so we, in Phoenix and in Arizona and stuff, they would have big ol' lightning storms with giant thunderheads. Never would actually rain. It would just like be big and scary and have lots of lightning, and then it would be gone. But I was really little and I was trying to run from my dad, who was at one end of the sidewalk, to my mom, who was at the other, before like the lightning jumped between the clouds or whatever and made a game out of it. That's my earliest memory. I don't know if it was real or a dream or not, but it is what it is.
And you weren't afraid of getting hit by lightning?
You could see it from quite a ways off.
Oh, okay, it was a ways off.
And I had very careful parents, so they would always be like, oh, time to go in. And they always taught us the whole, like, okay, you saw the lightning, now you got to count until you hear the thunder. And if it's, like, less than 10, you got to go inside. And
So they wouldn't be the people to sit on the porch and watch the storm like islands are?
No, they'd be the people looking out their window being like, why is our neighbor sitting on the car in the middle of the storm? Like, jeez.
Yeah, I'm definitely the front porch kind of person. It's really disappointing to me when I go out, when it's like people are talking about a big storm and I go out to the front porch and it's like, I don't feel like unsafe. This isn't cool.
This isn't fun enough.
I was gonna do that during the derecho because I was at your mom's doing laundry. And were you there? I think she asked...
Yeah, I saw you. We were at the church.
Yeah,
Hiding
okay.
at the church. I came over to make sure you were not dead.
Yeah. Well, because I was going to go out and I was like, whoa, it's really picking up. And Brenda's like, yeah. And then she starts like slowly making her way to the basement. She's like, Jared, come, let's go to the basement. I was like, still by the window. And then we see things like fly by. And then now she's like halfway down the stairs when I turn back. And she's like, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
It was very funny. Every time I went like this, Brenda was a little bit more like a little bit more gone.
She probably wanted to just grab you and
yeah, she's like, I'm not gonna let this girl make me dead in the storm.
So, you said you grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. How long were you in Phoenix?
First 14 years of my life.
Okay.
So, was a city girl originally.
So a good portion of your life. Wow.
Yeah.
And what was that like growing up in Phoenix?
I remember it being very brown. There's no seasons there. You basically have hot and then hotter. And summers in Phoenix were a lot like winters here, where it was like just so hot you stayed inside all the time.
Yeah.
And like you could fry an egg on the pavement and you'd get into your backyard pool and the whole pool would feel like a hot tub. Like it was so hot. But I remember I really loved the desert because we'd go out into the mountains and camp and stuff. And it was always so beautiful. And in the desert, there's a lot less humidity. So you can see just this amazing spread of stars. Like you can see the Milky Way and you can see just everything. And I really miss the stars and the mountains probably the most.
Yeah, well, and there's not as much light pollution in some of those areas, like where there's a desert.
Yeah.
I know, like some areas have like a big city.
Yeah, in
nearby,
Phoenix you'd see like 2 stars. But
Yeah.
like when you get out in the desert, where it's like you're away from people, it's like it's incredible.
Yeah, I just think that's like really something that people are missing out on is seeing the stars. Like it almost feels like a spiritual deficit.
Yes, I agree.
Because like if you think about all of the verses in the Psalms that are like the heavens declare the majesty of the Lord or whatever, it's like, well, they're not declaring it to me.
Yeah, light pollution's in the way.
I live in a city with a bunch of headlights and house lights and
Maybe that's why a lot of people don't know the Lord anymore.
maybe.
The lack of stars.
But then again, people used to worship the stars.
That's true. It could go either way.
So I know one thing you also liked about living in Arizona was the Mexican food.
Oh yeah. Yeah. To this day it's like my meat and potatoes, where if I'm having a bad day, it's like I want a taco so bad.
Oh.
And Derek would tell you that every time he asked me where to go for date night, it's always like Mexican. Like every time.
So is there a place here in Iowa or Cedar Rapids area that's comparable to the Mexican food in Arizona?
Yes. There's only one place, and it's called El Super Burrito, and it's we're on the north side of town, so it's on the other side. But the best part is they do like homemade hot sauces, so you have to get into their little fridge they have sitting out, and it's like so good. Get their tamales if you ever go. Highly recommend.
We're not sponsored, but
No.
it is really good. Derek was telling me the other day about it, and I was like, have I been there? And then I finally asked him, like, is that the place with the bakery?
Yes.
With, like, little cabinet
It's
thing
really
in it?
janky, kind of hole in the wall. But
Yeah.
you know it's good because, like, all the people who are ethnic.
Yes.
Their
all
customers
all
are
of the
ethnic.
Mexican roofing crews
Yes.
go there for lunch.
Yes, and that's how you know it's good. Like,
Uh-huh.
you go to, like, Carlos O'Kelly's, and it's all Caucasians, and
Yeah,
it's like,
it's-
this is not...
It's white people. And
I do not like
No,
Carlos
it's-
O'Kelly's at all.
Neither do I.
I think I've been there once, but I
Okay.
don't even remember if I liked the food.
You didn't like the food. Josh always tells me he knows a place is good if the service is bad. Like, they don't care about, they're not doing all the, like, hospitality, nice things that, like, white people restaurants would do. And it's a hole in the wall. And then, like, ethnic people are there.
Yeah, those are the best ones.
But the food is going to be good. They're just not going to be super nice to you.
Yeah.
And so he prefers, like, he tries to find, like, when we go to reviews, he likes to look at that. Service is bad, food is good.
Yep, that's how you know.
So what was your childhood like?
It was very interesting, actually. I was raised homeschooled, but I was raised secular homeschooled. So that was kind of an interesting dynamic. And it came with positives and negatives to it, but I remember it being just normal for me. So, and played a lot of, like, video games with my brothers. I was very much into video games and was into anime for a while, and loved movies. Still do, in terms of, like, fantasy stuff. But yeah, just kind of was a tomboy.
So, like, how that your homeschooling, was that, like, a more structured homeschooling, like going through a curriculum, or, like, the kind of, like, free, open homeschool style?
Like unschool, homeschool.
We always had a curriculum. We always worked out of books. But, like, as we reached teenage years, it maybe was more unschooled because my mom would, like, give me the book and be like, come back in a year. Like, obviously I could ask her questions.
I think that's a pretty typical homeschool
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, you
Fun
reach
to
a
read.
point of independence and stuff, so.
Yeah, that's interesting. Our neighbors are, they secular homeschool. And for some reason that was just so shocking to me. I don't know why, but they do the books and they do all of the homeschool stuff.
Yeah.
And I think they did send one of their kids to public school for a year, and then she decided to come back home.
Yeah.
And it seems like their childhood is similar to yours. They like anime, they like video
Yeah.
games. There's two of them. They play outside a lot. And so was your childhood like that, like playing outside,
very
doing your
much.
school, and
Yeah.
just kind of hanging out with your family?
Yeah, and obviously because we lived in the suburbs, we didn't have a huge backyard.
Yeah.
But I remember being out there a lot and always being with my brothers and sisters and stuff. And I think the only real challenging part is, like, back when I was homeschooled, there wasn't as much, like, support. There wasn't as much structure, so there was no, like, organizations, and then also not having, like, a church community. So it was definitely, like, we didn't socialize a whole lot outside of the house just because there was nothing really available.
That makes sense.
So
How many siblings do you have?
I have one younger brother, and then I have two half siblings that were quite a bit older, like 5 years or so. And so the older siblings are a sister and then the oldest brother.
Do you know why your parents chose to homeschool?
They always told us it was because, like, they had some bad experiences, and especially with, like, they really believed that, like, learning is unique and everybody's unique, and they wanted to encourage that uniqueness and that, like, individuality and not have us be exposed to, like, peer pressure and drugs and all the bad stuff that can come up with, like, high school and stuff.
Yeah, I went to public school, and the school bus, like, even if my kid needed to go to public school, I would never have them ride the bus. It's like the worst part is getting to school. It's not even when you're there.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand, like, secular people choosing to not want to send their kids to school, and especially not have them ride the bus.
Yeah, they just wanted a better environment for us, and an environment where we could learn to really be ourselves without, like, all that, like, needing to fit in and that kind of stuff, bullying and they did. I feel like they were very successful with that. So.
So were you fairly close with your siblings growing up then?
Yes. In fact, we probably got along. I always hear stories of siblings that don't get along, and I can't relate. So, but I was especially close with my brothers because I was a bit of a tomboy, and then my older sister was the opposite of me in a lot of ways. So she was more into the makeup and the boys and stuff. And I was like, just let me outside.
So, what was your favorite video game?
Oh gosh, I had a bunch.
Some of your favorites.
Depends if it's like multiplayer or not.
Either one.
I really liked Zelda, and still would, and if I could.
What is
Zelda.
the best Legend of Zelda game? That
you might hate
played?
me. I don't know. I
won't hate you.
I loved Majora's Mask.
Yeah, a lot of people really like that one or really hate it.
Yes, and I loved I loved all of them, honestly. I haven't met a Zelda game I've hated, but Ocarina of Time was classic, and Wind Waker was just so cute.
Yeah, Wind Waker was awesome.
Yeah, and then I grew up at that point, so I didn't get to play many of the ones afterwards where got the really nice graphics, and Breath of the Wild is I'll play that in heaven.
Yeah.
Someday, but
yeah, Majora's Mask. I probably played I don't know if I was just too young or too dumb, but I could not beat that game.
Really?
So I did not get very far on that one. But it is an interesting game.
Yeah.
Did you get into video games because of your siblings, your older ones, or how were you introduced to it?
Yeah, well, my oldest brother probably brought it into the family, and then obviously, you're at home, and what else are you gonna do?
School, you've gone outside.
Yeah. Yep. I think my proudest achievement, if we're gonna talk favorite multiplayer games, was Smash Brothers. Me and my brothers would play that every day, and we broke the record in the game for getting 10,000 versus rounds.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's one of my proudest achievements.
And would that have been, what console would that have been? N64?
That would have been the GameCube. So
okay, the GameCube one. Melee?
Melee, yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
Jared definitely knows everything we're
You're a cool girl, Christina. Growing up, I would
so
have wanted...
nerdy.
I had dreams of wanting to be like you, just the Lord did not make me that way.
So, who was your go-to Super Smash Bros. Character?
Oh, Pikachu and Marth.
Pikachu and Marth.
It depended on whether I wanted to actually beat my brothers. If I played Marth, they couldn't beat me. So if I wanted to give them a chance, I'd play Pikachu.
Now in Melee, this is getting really deep here. So.
Yep.
In
Melee, was Marth's moveset include the parry?
Yep, he was kind of a broken character. I think he was a little overpowered, and I got really, really good because 10,000 rounds.
Yeah,
it's like the 10,000 hours thing, If you do something 10,000 hours, you become a master.
Yeah.
So you're a master at Smash Bros.
Yes, at least Melee. So I know there's newer ones out now, and they've balanced things out a little bit more. So
the thing I've noticed is I do not have the reaction speed that I used to have as a little kid. It's kind of crazy. It's I haven't been banging my head against the wall. I should still be able to do this stuff, but I try and play games like that now, and I'm just...
It's probably because you have more important things going on in your life.
That's true.
Stress is in trouble. The most important thing isn't beating this game for you anymore.
Yeah.
What about anime? What's your favorite anime, or what was your favorite anime growing up?
Well, to this day, I love anything. Well, not everything. I really like Studio Ghibli, so a lot of the classics, Kiki's
Are those
Delivery
real
Service.
Anime? Are they Japanese?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Studio Ghibli is. Yeah.
Okay.
It's Spirited Away and Kiki's Delivery Service and Princess Mononoke. I like those now even because the storytelling is some of his newer stuff is I don't know about this, but.
Kiki's Delivery Service is probably my favorite animated movie.
It's so good.
It's just about a little witch girl getting depressed because
I know
she doesn't know how to
witch anymore.
do life, and it's just I don't know.
It's so relatable.
I was gonna say you relate to that.
Yeah. So those were always my favorites.
Yeah, I don't know what those are. I'm like, I need to do
No,
some homework.
I feel like you've seen Studio Ghibli before.
Yeah,
but
it's
not
like,
those ones.
It's the equivalent of like Disney, but in Japan. So it's like the cream of the crop, if you want to say.
Yeah.
But
I've seen Howl's Moving Tower.
Castle.
See,
Yep.
oh my gosh. I'm so
Gosh,
embarrassed.
Jared.
Yeah. And Ponyo. And like one other one.
I think you've seen Spirited Away, because I think we
Yeah.
watched that at the
Yeah.
episodes, maybe.
Castle
Probably
in
just
the
sitting there
Sky
like,
is also
"Whoa."
very good.
Can you describe that one?
It's about a castle in the sky.
Okay, well, I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Gosh.
But
We're
maybe
gonna
you and me,
interview
we
more
can get
nerds.
together.
Yeah,
I
we
can
need to.
rub my nerdness off on you.
You need to educate me. Need some more culture in my life. What am I doing with my life? I need to be doing that.
Watching movies.
Yes. Well, good movies. I'm not watching good movies.
So, so you said you grew up in a secular home. What was your idea of God growing up?
Also very interesting. So my family, I think they actually began their homeschool journey as Christians. And so like my older siblings had a lot more Christian upbringing than I did. But by like the time it reached me, it was petering out. So I have very, very early memories of like praying. And my dad was Methodist, so it was always very in the Methodist style. But that like petered out. And so, and I don't know. I had heard some things about Christians and about God and about the Bible that weren't true and that were kind of slanderous. And so I actually had a very negative view of God. Like I hated him.
Did you believe
His name
that-
was my favorite curse word.
Yeah.
So
Did you believe that he existed?
no.
Okay. You
No.
just hated the idea and that people believed in him and
Yeah, it seemed very hypocritical to me because of like what I had encountered.
At what age, though, did you like have this kind of feeling about God? Like, how old were you?
I think I was around 11 when
Okay.
at the time when it like was like. I remember specifically thinking that if I had done something bad enough to go to hell, well, it's like I'll just go to hell. Fine.
that's where all the cool kids
I'll
go.
take my
We're all
own punishment. Yes. But yeah, so it's like my family became very open in the sense of like, they became very interested in occult stuff and like Bigfoot and aliens and, so I was exposed actually to a lot of other religions as well and like, very interesting.
Honestly, it makes sense because the kind of people who would believe, well, this sounds bad. The kind of people who would be more inclined to be religious would be conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking more of myself.
Yeah, so I'd read books about like Middle Eastern religions as a teenager, and I read books about like witchcraft and the occult and everything not God. Very new agey stuff, I suppose, would be a good like heading of kind of where I was at.
Yeah.
Did you ever
Teenage
dabble
years.
in any of it, like do tarot?
Just to see if it worked. Never did.
Oh, okay.
And it's nothing like Harry Potter, for the record.
Yeah.
Like,
So Harry Potter's not witchcraft.
no. My older brother actually is married to a practicing witch, and she gets very angry at Harry Potter because of
They don't get it right.
they're misrepresented.
Oh, that's good. It's real witch, not approved.
Yes.
And that's a good argument for like Christian parents.
I know.
Because I watched the first 2 movies of Harry Potter, and then my mom found out she's like, this is witchcraft. What they're doing, they're showing it on the screen, but they're actually doing it. If you say these words, then you cast real spells. But now I can tell her, like, actually.
Same with Pokemon. Like, there is a whole, like, Pokemon's of the devil. And I'm
Evolution.
Evolution.
Yeah.
It's just
Guys,
like
I never thought of it
it
that
just
way.
comes down to word choice, really.
Yep.
Like J.K. Rowling didn't have to say they were witches and wizards. You just said like magic people.
Yeah.
And then like
That's
they're probably
less interesting.
They're probably would like Christian parents probably would never have had a problem with it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
true.
I mean, maybe
yeah.
the fact that it's like magic, but I don't know.
Miracle people who do miracles
Yeah, people do
constantly,
miracles.
all the time with a wand.
The spells that they cast are in like Latin, sort of. So it's like it's kind of connected to like
witchcraft.
no,
witchcraft is in Latin.
like the Latin Mass, you know.
Oh, that's true. Have you seen what is that? With the two brothers, Dean and something, and they haunt.
Supernatural.
Yeah, have you seen that show? Okay.
I haven't.
Because a
I
lot
don't
of the
keep up with
times they're
TV
like
much.
needing to talk to demons, they have to speak Latin. And because demons only react to like Latin.
Yeah.
They know English, but it has no power on them. I feel like that's like truth, you know.
Yeah.
If we
not
like
really.
if you need to exercise anyone, like
And Carlin's in trouble then.
yeah.
Gosh.
Well, maybe maybe all of us are in trouble, and Carlin's the only one
Yeah.
who's gonna be able.
And
to...
that's why he's trying to teach the kids. He's like trying to get them young, because like it's too late for us.
Yeah, teach them Latin so they can exercise
Their
demons.
parents.
Oh, gosh.
I really want to get Carlin on the podcast though, because we asked him to come on the podcast last season, but he's been doing the school thing with like
Yeah, and moving and
and but he has his final for his school thing today. No, sorry, tomorrow. He told me on Sunday, and so I hope to get him on the
he
podcast.
can defend himself.
Yes.
Are you teaching children Latin to exercise their parents? That's what the people want to know. So are you close with your family, or were you close with your family growing up? It sounded like you were.
Yeah, with my brothers. And then I think right now I'm probably closer to my sister because she was saved probably a few years ago.
Oh,
And she's
okay.
very much into like church history, and she loves like the Greek and the Hebrew. So we get into really nerdy conversations about really obscure parts
Nice.
That's
of
awesome.
the Bible and its history and stuff. So
Well, that's
Nice.
fun.
yeah,
That is cool.
so I have a lot of fun with her.
Yeah. So, what, I guess what led, you said you were in Phoenix until you were 14, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
What led to moving away?
My dad got a job at Collins Aerospace.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because he was an engineer, and I think we were all tired of the brown.
Yeah.
How brown the desert gets, especially in the city. Like if you're in the desert, the seasons are a lot more beautiful and there's more variation. But the city is just like hot and it's always brown, and all the people tend to always be cranky. So we just
Yeah.
needed a change, and so we moved here.
Josh does have a theory that the nicer or the warmer the weather is, the like worse the people are, and you need cold weather to have nice people.
It could be the case. It might just be that Phoenix is a gigantic city and it's very fast paced.
Maybe that's why
So.
people are cranky.
Well, I think it's because money makes people unhappy, and people with money are the ones who can afford to live in the nice places. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the down-to-earth people who have to live in the freezing cold.
Because we're poor.
Builds
Nice
character.
people are poor.
Maybe. Okay, so moving across the country to Iowa, was that a big change, or since you were just mostly socialized with your family, was that like not a big change?
It was a big change in all the best ways.
Yeah.
Because we actually moved to a house in the country. So our house that we moved to was on like 5 acres, and it had a pond and a swing,
wow.
and so it was like, oh,
That's amazing.
it was so much like, it was just amazing to move from like suburbia backyard to that. Of like, there's forest and there's water and there's deer. Like, I was so happy.
Lots
I
of
was out
deer.
there every day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do your parents still live on that property, or? Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So.
That is amazing.
But yeah, I don't think I didn't experience any of the traditional like, oh, I got to leave my school and leave my friends, and
Okay.
that was not a dynamic, thankfully. So it was more like, we're free to run.
Had you heard of Iowa before?
No, actually, when Dad got the job, we were all like, where's Iowa?
Yeah.
We'd tell our extended family, and they're all like, where's Iowa?
Now, did you know about winter before you moved to Iowa?
Only in movies. Like, I had
Okay.
only seen snow once before moving here. And I still, to this day, love snow.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's
Whenever it
surprising.
snows, I get very excited.
Some of us cry.
I know. I'll often pray, like, God, please give us feet of snow, not inches. And Derek's like, you have no idea what
I
you're
am
asking
actively
for.
praying against you. This winter, I'm like, Lord, I know Christina's on her knees. Ignore her.
I think like one of the best things, like I don't love having like snow now that I'm an adult that has to drive places. And,
Driving in it is not fun.
yeah.
Credit where credit is due.
But like being snowed in is possibly one of the best things ever.
I know.
Like-
You get your
Yeah.
blanket, and you get your cocoa, and you get
It's
your
like,
book. And
sorry, I can't do anything productive. I'm snowed in.
I know.
But if you're like homeschooled, like, why is that fun?
Yeah, like
you
if you're
know-
a mom of young kids.
Yeah, like that doesn't
Yeah.
do anything for me. That's terrible.
Yeah. You just get trapped.
Yeah, I remember being public school was exciting because you like watch the news to see if your school name came up. And you just sit on the couch and then they say your name, and you throw your stuff and you go back to bed, or you like watch TV and all of a sudden you have all this energy and happiness in your life again.
Yeah, because there's no school.
Yeah, there's no school.
So, moving here to Iowa, did your social life change much? Like, did you start meeting people around here, or were you still mostly just?
Yeah, yeah, in the sense that it didn't change much.
Okay.
My social life didn't really change until I hit college. Just because, like, now we were, like, in the country and still didn't have any connections or resources for
Were you
secular.
homeschooled through junior high and high school?
Yes,
Okay.
I was.
Did you play any sports? Like,
No,
Joining
just because
co-ops
it
or
wasn't,
anything?
like, available at that point for us. I would have probably played sports.
what sport do you think you would have played had you gotten an opportunity?
I always imagined I would like running.
Yeah, cross country.
And I'm actually running now. And I
Oh,
do
yeah.
like it. But,
Nice.
So, but yeah.
So you went to college at Kirkwood, is that right? And what was that like?
It's a lot of feelings. I think terrifying is
Yeah.
probably the dominant one because it's like a lot to learn. And, but also very exciting because I love learning. Like that's one of the things I appreciate the most about being homeschooled is it taught me how to learn and it taught me to love learning. And so like I was so excited to like be able to take classes and have new textbooks and stuff and be able to meet people and talk to people and stuff. And so it's terrifying in the sense that like it's brand new and I gotta do things I've never done before.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure any college student would feel that way their first years.
Yeah. So did you live with your parents when you went to college, or did you move out at that point?
Yeah, I lived with them up until like my last semester, and that's when I moved out. So
Okay. And what were you studying in college?
I studied for an Associates of the Arts because I wanted to go on to study writing at the University of Iowa, but plans changed in the form of the handsome man sitting behind the camera.
We'll have to put a picture of Derek so she knows what you're
Yeah,
talking
why would we
about.
put a handsome man behind the camera? That
Yeah,
makes no sense.
We'll have to have Derek on screen.
He does want to be invited to the podcast. So.
Well, Derek, you're invited. Should come.
So during this period where you started going to college and started, dealing with some fear there, I guess when did you find out that you needed Jesus?
It's actually a little bit before college.
Okay.
So it was right at the tail end of my high school. So I was 18 when I came to know Jesus. And yeah, I was really glad I had him because I probably wouldn't have survived college without him. Those were very pivotal years, not just in the sense of like, oh, I'm at college and it's new, but it's also was pivotal in the sense that I'm a brand new believer and that's new too. And so
So how did you come from learning, occult stuff, witchcrafty stuff, being secular to, and still being homeschooled. Like, how did you come to Jesus?
It's a little complicated. I think the gist of it is that I was having a really difficult time with my mental health throughout my teenage years. Probably since I was like 11. Just very, very terrible time. And it got worse and worse and worse, like the older I got. And so, and because my dad always remained Methodist. So even to this day, he says he's a Christian, even though like our family wasn't Christian itself. Like he stayed that. And then my mom was always kind of like seeking for different things. So at that point, she had gotten back into the Bible and back into studying things about the Bible and stuff. And so she ended up sharing the gospel with me when I was having a very difficult, dark night of the soul.
Really?
Yep. And so I prayed for Jesus to save me, and it was the most bizarre experience of my life. Like getting saved.
Explain that.
Well, I think as I was experiencing these mental health problems like depression and anxiety and stuff, I remember as a teen, like all the color like disappearing from the world and just not being able to feel anything anymore, except for like anxiety and having nightmares and all sorts of terrible things. So I remember that first night after I prayed for God to help me, it was like I could see color again the next morning. It was really weird. And I remember that was like the first time I had felt peace. Like I had a permanent association with the Sound of Music because I like got saved and then immediately watched that. And so I'm just like sitting there in the peace of God, like watching the Sound of Music for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Most of the movie is fairly peaceful.
Yes.
But that feels so romantic.
I know.
I love that.
And like I had my first like good night's sleep in years, and then the other really weird thing was like the tastes of my soul like changed in ways like I couldn't explain. Where before like video games and movies and like romance books and stuff had been like life to me. Where I'd like participate in them and I'd like be filled, and then all of a sudden I'd participate in those things and it'd be like, oh, like I feel deader.
Yeah.
Like I don't want this anymore. Like
this does not taste good.
Yeah. And that first year with Jesus was very interesting because I was saved under a Methodist kind of like outlook. So like Arminian, whereas like you choose God and you're saved because you choose God, and if you decide to not choose him, you're not saved anymore. So and when I accepted when God got a hold of me, I still hated him. Like
really?
So bad. I had a beef with God on several different points, and so that whole first year I was like feral. Where he's like dragging me along behind him, and I'm like, what about this?
Wow.
And what about that? And just all these challenges to him. And I was like reading his word at that point because it's like, okay, I want to know what he says about himself because I got all this stuff I heard from other people. Like, let's see what he says about himself.
Yeah.
And so like I would seek answers in his word, and man, I really relate to like Jacob wrestling God, because that was like that first year of just like, I'm not a happy saved
I'm not
girl.
a happy Christian.
No. But God was so good to me because like he answered every question and every conflict I had with him. Like he stuck it out and he got me what I needed to resolve it, to understand like his point of view.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it made for a very interesting experience because I had this like deep conviction of like, I'm not saved because of me. If I had my choice, I'd be gone.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But God just kept pursuing me and showed me love in ways that I had never experienced it before, and like taught me what good things actually were. Because like as a secular person, I thought I knew what love was, and I didn't. until God showed up, and he's like, no, it's patience, and it's kindness, and it's grace, and it's forgiveness, and it's sacrifice. And I'm like,
yeah.
So
the thing I'm like really blown away by is that your mom suddenly, around the time that you got saved, that now she's like rediscovering her Christian faith, or like restudying. Like, why? Was it just because you guys had like been open to so many things over time that she was like, well, let's give this another try?
My mom is a very interesting topic. I don't know where she stands. She would have to say that for herself.
Yeah.
I just know that regardless of that, like, God still used her.
Yeah.
To give me the gospel.
Yeah, but I wonder too if it was like that she was like, this could help you. Was it an intentional, like, let me tell you, about Jesus, or let me tell you this is like something you could ask for, is what I'm really wondering.
Say that one more time.
Like, what was the intention of like sharing that with you? Like, was it just because you needed so much help, and it was like, well, this is a possible thing that could help?
that was how she presented it. Was what you're experiencing. She presented it as like, what I was experiencing was a symptom of needing life. I needed God, and I was separated from him. So she did a very good like presentation of the gospel.
Yeah, that's my amazement is that she's like, and I've watched like a lot of like YouTube videos and talked to a lot of people who like, have practiced some sort of Eastern religion, or at least looking at it.
Yeah.
And they consider Jesus like an option. But whenever like things start to hit the wall, they're like, well, you can call on Jesus. Like, you can say his name. And they like rely on him to show up, or they say, well, you could just try it out. He could help you. And sometimes the people even who introduce it to them are not really sure about it, or they don't know if they really believe, but they like, Jesus has enough of a reputation of loving people and showing up for them that like anybody will know that you can call on Jesus if you need help. And they can recognize the symptoms of someone who needs that kind of help. That's a God thing. That's amazing. That he saw you there, and he just used the people who were around you to.
He could pluck you out even if you like, no matter where you are, even if you have no influence.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Praise God.
It's really interesting to me that you mentioned the color thing, because like that you felt like color returned to the world when you were saying, because my dad would say that he had a somewhat of a similar experience.
I resonate with what he said.
Yeah, when he was saved, he felt like the entire world was brighter, and he felt like scales literally fell off of his eyes.
Yeah, it changes like literally the way you see. And even Paul says that, of like, he had that experience as well in the Bible. And it's like, yep.
Yeah, well,
I had that experience as well.
Paul was physically made blind, but I feel like that was kind of like God showing us the extreme case.
Yeah.
So that we could see that, like, oh, this is a thing.
Yeah.
But I've never heard anyone, like, teach on that, of, like, a theology of... I mean, like, maybe, like... I don't know. I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say. Like, obviously people talk about, like... we have the Holy Spirit, and that allows us to understand things that we can't understand in our fallen human nature. And that's more of, like, the spiritual side of that, but not necessarily like the physical.
Yeah.
What? Go ahead,
Christina. Well, just my theory on it is that because I would notice the blindness the most when I was out in nature, because as a little kid, I loved nature. Like, I would sit and stare at the stars and just like, my mom would be like, "Are you okay out there?" And spend like 4 hours. I was like, "I'm fine." So it was like soul crushing to me to like go outside and feel like I'm blind to the beauty of everything. And it's because like all creation declares the glory of God. That is the beauty you see, and that your soul enjoys. And so, like, obviously, the further I got from God, the less I could see that beauty.
Well, that's amazing, because as a child, of course, you would see it.
Yeah.
Like Jesus says, "Let the little children come to me," and you have to be like a child to enter the kingdom of heaven.
So that's my theory, anyway. But I don't know if it's biblical or not.
I think Paul talks about that a little bit in like Romans 3. People call it like the Romans Road, where it talks about how, like, even though they knew God, they neither glorified him as God or worshipped him as God, but traded him for created things. I'm butchering it, but anyways, like, yeah, you can't separate nature, like our experience with nature. You can't separate that from experiencing the glory of God without like serious self-deception.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think too, having color return to the world, because when I got saved, I didn't notice that the world lacked color or that everything wasn't brighter. But the next day when I woke up and I opened my eyes, there was a difference between
you're like,
the day,
whoa!
the day before and now. But I think it's like, it makes sense, like physiologically, if you're struggling with like mental health issues and you're just perception, like how you remember things, how you see people, how you feel, and your soul affects all of how that looks like. And I think on a spiritual level, it just takes it one step forward, further, where the color too is affected by the darkness that is within. So everything is colored.
Yeah.
With like dark colored glasses.
Yeah.
And so when you take that off, you can really see what the world's like, because God gives you more of his perspective on the world and how he sees things.
Yeah. And that was my experience too, of like the experience of like my soul is literally alive now. Like it was so hard to explain to anybody like why I didn't want to watch a movie anymore. It's like I'd rather go like read my Bible. My family looked at me like I was crazy. Like I didn't even know like what happened to me, because I didn't have any of the theology of like regeneration and being made into a new creation. It was only like far after that I was like, that's what happened to me. I understand now. But it was bizarre to like wake up and have a whole different set of desires.
Well,
and you're like, where did this
vampire?
Stuff come from?
That like
I know.
You're like not a vampire before.
I know. I got reverse vampire.
Yeah, it's like reverse vampire. Like that's what, or a werewolf. You know, I don't know, but that's more temporary. A vampire is like forever. Yeah.
Yes.
You have different flavors and tastes, and
don't want blood anymore.
You don't want blood.
What was that like trying to figure out theology with, like, it sounds like you were kind of doing that on your own.
Yeah, I was very much in the wilderness, and it was tough. And it was tough because, like, I did have this awareness of false Christianity. So it was very much like an Elijah experience. I don't know, when Elijah's like on the mountain and he's like, God, there's nobody else. Like, it's just me. Like, that was very much my first, like, 3 years of, like, where the heck are even the real ones? Who can I listen to? How would I recognize them if I could? So, but I'm also super thankful for those years, because, like, it was just me and God and the Bible. And if I had a question, like, I would just ask him. And there were so many things that, like, he helped me with, and he taught me directly. Not like, not with words or anything, but, you know, I'd pray and ask him a question, and then the next day it'd be right there in my Bible and stuff. And just interacting with him through his word, where he just was there for me so much. And it has shaped, like, my entire Christian walk, that I got that time in the wilderness with him, where it's like not knowing anything and having to depend on him entirely to even just know anything at all. So I'm just super grateful.
So when did you take that step of finding those people that are, like, real Christians?
As soon as I, like, got independent, so, like, my college years, and at that time, my parents were attending various churches. So, like, when I was saved, they were going to a Methodist church at that time. But my mom was also really into Calvinism, so I heard a lot about that. And then we went to a very mystical church for, like, a year. And
what was that like? That sounds interesting.
It was
crazy happened?
It was, oh yeah. We actually left because Prophet Bill came.
Oh, really? Did he
had some very interesting prophecies that we...
Like, toward your family?
Yeah. Like, putting my mom in charge of as head of the household and stuff.
Okay, well.
So, and other weird stuff. We, like, as we were experiencing this, like, my mom researched it and was like, whoa, this is not okay. And
well, that's amazing. She was being a Berean.
Yeah, she was very good at that. And that's something I'm grateful that she's passed on to me, at least in part, I would hope. But yeah, so I had some experience through my parents that way. And then at that time, they started not going to church anymore after the vineyard thing. And so I attended a home church for a little while. And then after that, I became really convicted that I needed to find a church, even if my parents weren't going anymore. And that's when I tried a few around town, and I'd been involved with the core at that point. So I was like, oh, I'll just try New Life.
Okay.
And was very impressed. They talked about the mystical stuff the first time I was here. So I was like, oh, definitely a good start. I definitely don't want that. And then I was also very impressed because I had a lot of questions for Kurt. And he was just very humble about it, and was able to see my point of view about things. And so that also earned my respect. As okay, I got the leadership's good here. And so I decided to stay.
Really quick, I'm just wondering, so was your family or you more emotional? Because I'm thinking if more emotional people went to a mystical church, they'd be caught up in the emotions of everything, I remember we went to a mystical church, and I don't think I'm a super emotional person, but they the prophet said something that made me very emotional, and we start getting amped up by all the things going on. And in the middle of it, I took a step back and I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Something's
You
fishy.
almost got me. And then when we got to the car, I was like, ugh, they got me. But that didn't happen to you guys, it doesn't seem.
Not exactly. Some of it, though, I resonate with in terms of I probably was the most emotional person in my family. And there was a sense where my parents also didn't know how to find a church and didn't know what to look for and stuff. And so when we were at the vineyard for that year, we were all in, and I was all in, and it was kind of bizarre because we took these spiritual gift classes, and I got all the super high powered exorcism and miracles and poverty and
I love that for you.
prophecy, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Wait, how did?
And so they
Was this
they
take 20 questions and then
was.
it tells you
It was, but based off that, they targeted me as okay, we got to train this girl up as a prophet.
Oh my goodness.
you would have been a good prophet.
I feel
Prophetess.
yeah.
But I would okay, so I was oh, I'm a prophet, so I'm going to look at the Bible, and the Bible's yeah, if your prophecy is not true, you get stoned. And I'm they're not teaching me this. I don't know how I feel about this.
That's so funny.
But I think the hardest part about that, and why even to this day I really feel for people who have had experience with mysticism, is that was the first year of my walk with God. And so there was a lot of using my emotional impulses and my desires and my intuition and believing that was God when it wasn't. And so that really broke me when I realized oh, this wasn't God. This wasn't a healthy church for me and my family to be in. And so it was that whole year of first getting to know God was who did I get to know?
Yeah.
That wasn't God. Ah! And I had experience with the occult side, the spiritual warfare side was very real, and I was
yeah,
that wasn't God. Ah! So who even are you, God? I spent this whole year getting to know you.
That's PC, the fake God comes in and he does lies, and then real God comes and I don't know, so RKO him or something. It
was back to square one, and just all those things that were so meaningful, because some of it is really meaningful when you interact in a mystical way.
Yeah.
With
God. It rides on your emotions so
much,
and it depends on people who are more emotionally inclined or emotionally intelligent even, because you and you could mistake yourself for being a prophet if you just have good intuition and can connect with people and all that, and that would be a lot to handle.
Yeah, and that was just the most crushing thing was I was led to in a false idea of who God was. And so that was very hard to be okay, I'm back at square one with you, God. What if that was even you? And I have to get to know you all over again. And as a baby Christian, that was just that was so hard.
But like flexing those muscles, and building them.
And it taught me a lot to be a lot more like I was always looking at the Bible, but it taught me the value of that, of like, okay, you know, the word is there to protect me and check everything with the word. And like, so when I got to New Life, I was like, okay,
yeah,
you
right.
guys are getting
I've learned.
Gonna scrutinize you backwards and forwards.
That's so funny that you like the 20 questions. All the high-powered ones.
Yeah, well, it was really embarrassing because like I was the only one in my family too. Like all my siblings and stuff, and like my parents got like service.
Oh,
so I was like, oh no.
But I'm special. I'm a prophet.
They're all like, oh, prophet. But I guess the prophet's not honored in his own house.
Well, that's like, it must have been an interesting time in your house. Like so funny and interesting. Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, how did you get into? I'm sorry, Joseph. How did you get into the Corps?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
Oh, we're thinking.
Yeah. So when I arrived at Kirkwood, I was really praying for friends because I'd never had a friend before, besides like my brothers and stuff. And God really answered because I took a class, and like the first people to sit next to me were Christians, and so I was really good friends with this brother and a sister, and they weren't like super into the Corps, but they were like kind of there once in a while, and they were very much into the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. They would do Frisbee on Tuesdays. So that's where I met the man of my dreams. First time I ever came there.
You saw him dive for a Frisbee and
you fell in love.
I know. I did. Well, actually, this might be a whole other story, but
you can get into it.
He kind of creeped me out the first time. He was on a lot of medication that made him kind of like, he's a zombie. And so like we were in a circle, like telling people our names. And so he like zoned out, but he was like staring right at me. And so I was like,
oh my God.
Okay. And he was like very slow. And so it's like, I didn't recognize that as like symptoms of medication. So I was like, this guy's really weird.
And he has striking blue eyes.
He did. And he was very nice. And I can tell you why, like, he overcame my initial, creep sensor.
Well, yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so... Oh, excuse me. So, yeah, we met at Frisbee, and, like, Derek was always there at Frisbee. And the first thing that began to win me over is he would always throw me the disc, and he'd throw my friend the disc, and we were the girls that, like, couldn't play. So he would, like... Everybody else would kind of do their own thing, but he would always make sure to include us. And so I was like, oh, he's a really nice guy. Kind of, but he's still creepy. And then I actually ended up taking about a year off of college in the middle. So I took off from the Corps and stuff. And when I came back...
May I ask why?
I don't want to call it a midlife crisis. Beginning life crisis.
Early life crisis.
Quarter life.
Yeah, as like a new believer, I really struggled in college with like my conscience and just being in that environment. So I was like, do I even want to finish? Like, this is really horrible. And so I took a year off to like see if I wanted to do a small business, and it was like, nope. So I came back to college. But I remember when I came back, Derek remembered my name. And he would just always go out of his way to like not just say hi to me, but he'd say hi to like everybody, even like the people like me who are awkward. Like there's always the awkward kids, so I was like one of those. And then I think the thing that really won me over was when he told his testimony, because that's when I learned that he had his mental health struggles and just what he'd been through. And I had like experience with that as well, and I felt like my experience with it was like this big, and like his was like massive in terms of how much he had struggled with it. And I could just see that it had made him a much better person. Like he had grown from it. He hadn't become bitter. And I just had my experience, it like gave me this little window of like, I knew how hard that was. And to think of that at a scale of 10, and I just was so impressed. It's like instant respect.
Wow, what a guy.
I know. I never respected a man before that. Like, I had crushes, but this was the first time when I met a man, and it was like, whoa. He's
it went from,
amazing.
He's not weird. He's just amazing.
I know. And then right after that, I actually visited New Life for the first time, and Derek was also there, but he had glasses on, and I had always wanted a man with glasses.
Oh my gosh, the Lord is just doing everything for you.
No.
So he didn't wear his glasses to Frisbee?
No.
So.
Or it was just like a random thing, like he had an eye infection. So he had to wear his glasses that day, but he hated them, so... And I almost like didn't recognize him, but I was like, oh.
That's really
I respect
like
him
specific.
and he has glasses.
How, like, why was that the thing? Like,
yeah, what was it about glasses?
Well, I was a writer and a reader, and I always wanted glasses myself.
But do you have good eyes?
I do, unfortunately.
Yeah, you can see for free.
Trust me, it's a blessing.
Well, you just look so like smart.
Yeah, intelligent.
Yeah.
You can get glasses with like just clear.
But those
lenses.
are
I just feel like
liars.
a fake then.
Yeah.
Like I want to work so hard that my eyeballs like can't keep up, and then that's like cred.
Yeah, street cred for the nerd cred.
It's nerd cred, yes. So, but yeah, there's a lot more we could get into.
Did you?
That. If you want our whole story,
we'll get into it. I'm
Okay.
definitely here for the love and the cutesy,
Yeah.
the romantic stuff. Did you sit by him when you came, or
Oh, no.
No. Oh, yeah. I guess
No,
that'd be too
because like shortly after I was saved, I realized like if I put boys in the mix, this is gonna be bad news for my heart. So I like told God like, okay, no boyfriends for like 5 years. It's just gonna be 5 years, you and me.
And the Lord
And
said
so-
no, hopefully.
No to that or no
Yeah,
to
was
Derek?
it actually 5 years?
Well, you'll hear more.
Okay.
To be continued there.
To be continued.
Yeah, so I was like, I was not open to like anybody at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I was still like, I respect him so much.
That is
I
adorable.
admire him. He's so cool. And then like I ended up in the same life group that he was in, and he began to lead Frisbee. So I was like, oh, he can be a leader too. Oh, so
Just all the things.
he checked all the boxes, and he really liked nature and plants too, and like we shared a lot of interests, and he's just such a darn nice guy.
Yeah.
Like I can't handle even being married to him. I can't handle how nice he is.
Yeah. Well, you should ask a question, Joseph, because I'll definitely ask
Yeah.
more lovey questions.
Well, I wanted to ask, like, you kind of mentioned your first experience with New Life of, like, you're going to test it by the Bible, and you got a bunch of questions for my dad, the pastor. When was... I mean, I'm sure it was a gradual thing, but, like, when did you realize, like, okay, this is a church I want to be in?
It was definitely a gradual process because it's like, I'm going to test this and test this and test this. And so the things that really convinced me were like the stance on the mysticism part. And then I was also convinced by just the sermons. And so I heard sermons that were more like motivational speeches where they just throw in a verse in, but then they talk about like Gilligan's Island and stuff. And it's like, okay. So I was really impressed by like how the word was handled in the sermons and stuff, and just how Bible-based, even like the organization of the church and the logistics, and like we do life groups because of this in the Bible, and we organize our leadership because of this in the Bible. And I'd tried other churches and I hadn't encountered anybody that biblically based. And so that also won me over. And then, yeah, just talking to Kurt, and I remember at one point I like challenged him on something he said in his message, and he thought about it, and he was like, oh yeah, you're right. I didn't include that verse and didn't address it, but yeah, good point. I was like, oh. So when you can have like that kind of conversation with your leadership where they're willing to hear you out and even willing to admit like, oh yeah, that's a thing, you have a good point. I was
Do you remember what verse that was?
I think he was talking about anger. That's all I remember. And he had made a statement, usual Kurt statement. He likes to
like a strong
state things very strongly.
Yeah.
And in hopes of making a point. And So it was just like one of those where I was like, hey, what about like this other nuance thing? And he was like, oh yeah. Like,
was it the do not let the sun go, in your anger do not sin or something like that?
Yeah, it had to do with like righteous anger. I was like,
Okay.
hey, isn't righteous anger a thing? And so we got talking about that. And he's like, yeah, oh yeah, it is a thing.
Well, that's awesome too, that he didn't make it like a whole huge deal. Because that would be kind of intimidating, that he could just think about it and be like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, say anything more about who he is or who you are or anything like that.
Yeah, and so that's probably the point at which I decided to stay, is like people could handle critique and handle feedback and handle me asking lots and lots of questions, because obviously I had a ton after all my experiences and being a baby Christian. Like I have so many questions. So, and I knew that like God could handle my questions because of that first year of really struggling with him. So yeah. And obviously like the love and the character, just it all kind of added up over the course of like a month or two. I was like, I'll stay here.
So you said that you had been praying to God for a friend in college. Who was that friend? How did God answer that prayer?
So it wasn't anybody that you guys would probably know.
Well, okay.
It's nobody who's at church here or who'd gone here. It was from another fellow homeschool family that were Christian and were raised Christian, and we're just kind of like transient members of the core. They moved on, and I'm not even in contact with her now. But yeah, she was just like, I sat down, and then she sat down next to me, and we got talking, and was like, oh, you're a Christian? Like, I'm a Christian. Like, hey, let's hang out. And since we were in the same class, I was like, let's be study buddies. And so
yeah, I guess I was more asking who at New Life did you really feel like you connected with when you first started coming? Sorry, it wasn't a very clear question.
Yes, New Life. Well, besides, my husband.
But you were friends with him from afar.
He was not a reason I decided to stay, just for the record. I think I began to really connect with people because I started coming to New Life and actually moved out very shortly after I decided I'd stay here as a church. So I moved into one of the girls' houses, which was the Fortress at the time. So I moved in with Jenny Renning, and I moved in with a couple other girls who were transient, and they're not around anymore. But what was the other one? Like Nikki Sorensen. I don't know if you guys knew the Sorensens at all, but so yeah, I got close to Jenny and also Amy, because Amy would come over and hang out, and Andrea Reinert, and me and her hung out a lot. She did a lot to like reach out to me, and so I really appreciated that. She introduced me to Casey's Taco Pizza for the first time, so she will have that honor.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know, because I'm from the land of tacos, and I didn't know what to think of it. I love taco pizza now, though.
Okay.
So.
That's good.
Her influence worked on me.
Those are amazing women.
They were.
To like get introduced to from New Life. Like,
yeah, and when I started like living with them, it was even more amazing to like just be in that kind of household where things had become kind of tense just because of like the type of Christianity I was pursuing didn't agree with like where my parents were with it in their own walk, and so just to move into a house where it's like, oh, I'm free to like actually practice here, and I can sing and nobody cares, and I can pray and I could go ask somebody to pray for me. It was just so amazing to like be with like Christians who felt like Christians, and who wanted to like practice openly.
And having that year or so of being alone, like you were saying, in the wilderness with God and struggling with him, to like share your faith with other people would be amazing, and such amazing women.
Yeah, it was like that moment of like, so we talked about Elijah being like, I'm the only one. So that was my moment of like, God's like, there's more. It's fine. Calm down. So it's just so wonderful to be like, and I think one of the things that impressed me about the core and about those women was like, they were also very rooted in the Bible. A lot of the places I had been and a lot of other Christians I had encountered, weren't in the Bible as much. Like they were just kind of like, we lived the lifestyle, but like their private lives weren't super like, they weren't super into their devotions or that kind of stuff. And so you couldn't like talk to them about the Bible because they're like, I don't know. And so it was really amazing to come to the core where it's like, you know, the men are studying and doing even some of the teaching and acting like men. And you have the women who are studying and taking their feelings to God and like setting examples for one another. And it was the greatest. It was a night and day difference I was so thankful that God like brought me here.
Yeah. That's amazing that your outlook was there are men who are leading and teaching at the core and how amazing that was. Because for me, part of it was like, oh, that's amazing. And also, who's letting these boys teach this stuff? Like, who's in charge? These are kids. Do they know what they're talking about? Like, but I'm more of a control freak.
Yeah.
So I was like amazed, but also like, is someone in charge here?
Yep. Well, I think part of it was like I was used to very passive men. So it was like really amazing to be like, oh, men can like take action? Like, whoa. Like lead? Like, whoa. I mean, I was easily impressed. I don't know.
Well, no, you were rightly impressed. So after, you know, you're living in the girl's house, it's going great, you're loving it. At what point let's go back to the 5 years of like, I just want to, me and you, Lord. So like after that or during that, what happened?
Yeah, well, I did have a crush during that time on somebody else who actually turned out to not be a good candidate at all. So like God saved me from that, and that was a whole trial. But so I was like, I'd sworn off men. Like I could not think about men, and then Derek
Average
shows up.
men, not Derek.
Yeah, Derek shows up. It's like, oh gosh, I can't stop thinking about him, and I don't want to. But anyway, so yeah, I developed a crush on him, and you know, when you're in the core, like everybody's kind of trying to find who they like, and so
is that what everybody's doing, or is that like what happens?
It's a side product.
Yeah,
like we're all there for Jesus, but then
you're
it's
hanging
also
out with
like
people who love Jesus and are young and like are similar to you, like equally as weird.
Yeah. But also there to fall in love, find a spouse. But that's like secondary.
Yeah, secondary.
That wasn't my mission. I actually didn't want to get married, and then you know.
You didn't want to get married, like at all?
No, not really. No.
Do you mind me asking why?
Bad experiences from my childhood, and not knowing how amazing men could be.
Yeah. Okay.
So Derek came along,
but then the Lord slowly opened your eyes to like men are good.
Yes.
Well, they can be good.
Yes. Yeah, and that helped a lot of like, the right man came along and convinced me, and like God used him to convince me. So, but yeah, I guess Derek started to kind of notice me at one point, and then he asked me if I would date him, and just to see if we could like be a thing. He couldn't say the M word when he asked me. He's like the
that's a lot of commitment.
Yeah,
Some sort of long-term relationship.
Yeah, where we would live together and
he pivoted right there. Yeah. And the amazing thing is that was like the day after the 5 years was up, because I'd been saved like 5 years in a day.
That's amazing. So God's like, I've never heard God actually sticking to that for a person.
Well, he met my other specification too, because I told God I always wanted a man that was older than me, but also the same age.
What?
That's Derek.
How?
Like more mature than you?
Like he's a few days older, but you guys share birthdays?
Yeah, so we're both born in the same year, but he's 3 months older.
Okay.
So I was like,
that's...
he was just perfect in every way.
That's Christina. Like the Lord, like may have selected Derek. That's so.
Yeah. God was really pulling for him and like helping him like time things correctly.
That's so. So God is the ultimate wingman.
Yep. He was helping a lot.
Okay, we'll continue.
So yeah, I guess we dated for about 3 months.
Whoa. I'm gonna skip it. He asks you.
Oh, he asked me.
He jumbles his words. What did you say?
Well, I had predetermined I'd tell any man that I'd pray about it for 2 weeks, but because I liked him, I'd said it only 1 week. Which apparently was like the worst week of Derek's life, like not knowing.
That is a bad time. I can feel that.
Yeah, and so I went and I like talked to all the pastors about him, and I got together with all of Derek's roommates to like get all the dirt and stuff.
Oh, that
and
sounds...
just to make sure, you know.
I'm having butterflies for you.
I scrutinized him. And I don't know. I was already kind of convinced, so I don't know how much I heard there.
I feel like you just wanted to like hear more good stuff about him. Like it just feeds into your love that you already had, you know?
Kind of. It was partly that, but also partly because I knew he had his mental health struggles. So I also wanted to get an idea of like, well, what's that like for his roommates and what's that like living with him? So like, I wanted to make sure I could handle it. Like I didn't want to walk down this path to committing to somebody if I wasn't sure that I wanted that mental health component to be a permanent part of our lives. And so, but yeah, I didn't hear anything that bothered me about that. It felt like all stuff that I felt like I could handle. And the funniest part is like we had agreed to meet up at this coffee shop where I was going to tell him yes, but he was so nervous that he arrived an hour early. And then I was so nervous that I also arrived an hour early. So we both like went there to like go spend time with God, but we're both there early.
Wondering, so I know you mentioned some of Derek's mental health issues. I was wondering where you get the strength to like help support him through that, and how have you grown in your relationship with the Lord, helping him go through that?
Yeah, well, I mean, as far as where I get my strength, like the obvious answer is God. And I knew when I married him that I did not have the strength. So that really helped just to like go into it fully embracing my inadequacy of like, there's no way I can even prepare for what's ahead. Like I can read all the books and I can talk to all the people, but that's only going to take me so far. And so just knowing that of like, whatever I do face, like God will have to be enough. I can't be enough here. I'm not even going to try to be enough. Like, I'm just going to be here. Like, that's my only goal. And so that really helped in terms of, like, I love those verses where Paul talks about how in his weakness and in his struggles, that's when Christ's strength is perfected. And that's just been so true in my life of, like, yeah, I'm not a strong person. Like, it's all Christ. When he's there or when I need him, he's there. And I think it's more of a testament to him and what he's capable of helping us through. So, and then as far as like how it's changed my walk with God, I think an easier question to answer would be like how it hasn't changed my walk with God. Like it's impacted everything. But at the top of the list would definitely be all the trials and all the struggles have taught me who God is and has helped me work through a lot of lies I've had about him, which has been probably the most valuable thing I have in my life is just that knowledge of God, knowing who he is. And then also second runner up would just be knowing me, of like learning who I am in terms of not just like from an eternal perspective, but also learning like, okay, what's my personality? What are my limitations? How do I speak? Like, how do I be a human being? Because like when you're in a trial, you're usually challenged a lot to like like the hardest part of Derek's mental health struggles is like my flesh. Like, so every trial we've had has challenged that more than anything and put that to death more than anything. And I'm just so glad for it.
That's amazing. And so how do you feel like you've grown as a caregiver from like when you guys were married earlier on to now? And has it made your life look differently than you like expected?
Oh yeah.
Like it to look? Yeah,
I think for both of us, like when we were first married, the outlook for Derek's health was a lot different. So we had been expecting him to continue to improve and to be able to take on work. And so we expected like a normal life of like being able to buy a house and have kids and all that stuff. And so yeah, it's been different in that sense of like needing to accept the fact that his illness limits those things and may not improve as much as we had hoped. And so that's been a thing we've both wrestled with quite a bit. And but yeah, as far as being a caregiver, like when I married Derek, I had the hope of that, but I also knew like the other end of the spectrum of like I might be a caregiver, and I was okay with that. And in some ways, I feel called to that, like I had always been. Of like, when asked, "What do you want to do with your life, Christina?" I was like, "I want to help one person a lot."
Really?
Like that's it. Like, that's all I want to do. And so like Derek's perfect for me in that sense of like he matches my gifts, and I just love serving him. I love being his wife and have no regrets. So
yeah, that's amazing. So I don't know, when you guys lived at the Wynette farm,
Mm-hmm.
I had come for whatever reason.
yeah.
And I think we were making sauerkraut or something.
Oh yeah, were
So
you
I
there
don't know
for
how
that?
much you really, liked sauerkraut. And I guess I don't know why I was there. I don't care.
I like sauerkraut
about
a lot.
sauerkraut, but I was there and you were making them and I was doing dishes. I actually have no idea. Like, I think I was on a side plot in my life, just doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd ask you some questions because I'm curious and, nosy.
Yeah,
And
I like
you-
that about you.
And you were talking about it, and I asked you some questions about your relationship with Derek and everything. And you told me, like, yeah, I knew he had mental health struggles and just how joyful and happy you were.
Mm-hmm.
And your life seemed simple, but yet so complex.
Yep, that's a good way to put it.
And you were talking, and I just remember doing the dishes and being so confused and amazed and didn't know what to think. And I think Derek was out like working in the garden, and I was so amazed by your garden.
Mm-hmm.
But just you had so much joy, but also it was so realistic joy. It was like expected joy and peace a Christian would have. And you were like, oh, like this doesn't surprise me. This is just what we do. This is just our lives. And it was like, but this is, I was thinking, I don't know, this lady knows that this is intense. Like, this is a lot of stuff. Like, she doesn't know. But also, like, their lives seem so simple. I was, like, shocked and amazed and admired you. And I left, like, thinking, and then that day when I was driving home from your house, it, like, my drive felt like I was driving into heaven. It was just so beautiful.
It is beautiful out there.
And I was thinking about the conversations I had with you, and it was a bizarre day. It was like a really good, bizarre.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Was there something in the sauerkraut? Or
Maybe. I don't know why I was there, but like I remember getting on the phone with a friend and telling her about our conversation, and just I felt like in a heavenly mood. It was so weird, Christina. I can't explain it.
Oh gosh.
But I was
Do you
like,
want to come over more?
well, maybe, but like it was just so, it was weird. And I think that's why I wanted to ask some of these questions we're talking about today and kind of get to talk to you. And I feel like in our relationship that we have going to church together, I've gotten you like in bits and pieces. Wonderful, wonderful bits and pieces.
Oh, you haven't had the bad stuff yet?
Well, I don't think there is, Christina.
Oh, don't. There's bad stuff to all of us. So.
Yeah, I'm sure. But yours is not that bad, I'm sure. But it was wonderful. And honestly, getting to sit down here with you two and hearing it all, it makes sense. That conversation makes a lot more sense to me. Because I was like, this is very curious.
Yeah.
This lady doesn't know that things are hard here, but I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. No, I get it. I actually get that a lot of like, do you know how weird this is, Christina, that you're doing this well? And I'm like,
Yeah, that's what it was.
So, and I don't know. It's such a God thing, like Pete Gross said when he married us, is like, I feel very strongly that I was put here in part to help Derek, and God gave me everything I needed to be able to do that, even though it doesn't look like what other people have.
Well, I would be convinced to believe that too. And even meeting him and talking to him, because I had known that he had some mental health issues, but he seemed, I don't know, it's just, being outside looking in, I was like, this guy seems perfectly fine. Like, he's great. He's nice. He's like super calm. Well, I wasn't thinking that, but I did think he had really shiny blue eyes. I did notice that.
You have to notice the blue eyes.
But I was like, this is like this is so different.
Yep. It is different.
Well, that's amazing. Having your life look differently than you planned, but loving it, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, some days.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some days where
I'm sure
it's
there are
like,
hard days. Yeah.
oh my God, why? But, you know, God writes every day of our lives in his book, even before there was one of them. So I never wanted to be unique, but I didn't get a choice in the matter, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing.
So.
And so do you kind of feel like your life will just continue to look the way it is now, or do you have different hopes, or?
Yeah. We're really settled in as far as like managing Derek's health issues, and I've had some health issues too, so we're finally getting those kind of managed. But yeah, it's really hard because I feel like because of our limitations, our future is really just in God's hands. Like there are things we want, like we still want to have kids and we still want to have a house, and but that's just so far out of our reach right now. It's like we just kind of live our day-to-day life and keep asking God for the things we want, and it's just our future is kind of totally in his hands in so many ways.
That's amazing. It's like you're literally praying for your daily bread.
Yeah.
Like for God to
I do. Yep.
provide those for you, like
Daily tacos.
Yeah, daily tacos.
Lord, give me like El Super Burrito tacos today.
Yes.
But just like those things that people just expect out of their life, and then it happens to them, and they're like, well, this is what you do next, or this is what you're supposed to do. You guys are praying and hoping for that the Lord will provide a way for that.
Because we can't. Like, we just can't provide that for ourselves at this point. And who knows? God may change something.
Yeah.
And you never know. But at this point, we're just kind of like, we are where we are.
So do you guys have to think about contentment a lot, pray for contentment, or do you feel like at this point you've gotten really good at being content?
I don't know. That's a hard question because, like, contentment always changes when you, like, have your situation change. So it's like your situation changes and then you have to get content with that. And then when you're content with that, it changes again. So like derecho changed a lot of things for us. And, like as Derek has changed medications, that changes his abilities a lot. So it's like, so I don't know. I don't know if you can ever say you like master contentment in that sense, but I feel like this chapter, we're doing pretty good so far.
Are you waiting for like something else now? Because you've gotten...
Yeah, I was like, okay, when's our next lesson on contentment coming along? Like, but yeah, I feel very happy and very blessed, and I'm just so thankful for like the home I have and the husband I have and the cat I have, and I just have so many good things, and yeah.
Your cat is really cute.
She's beautiful.
She's very, very beautiful.
Yes. Most beautiful in the world. So
she seems like a really nice cat too. Like when you were at our house for I don't know how long, and you like kept her in the room mostly because we had Azula.
Yeah.
We have Charlie. I don't know, but
yeah.
She was content in there.
Yep. But she loves Derek the most. She's technically a therapy cat, and Derek has like a prescription for her, so we can keep her without any fees. But yeah. I still admire her, even if she doesn't like me as much.
I feel like that's the charms of cat. You know, they keep you.
Well, normally they like me the most.
Oh.
So maybe I'm discontent about that.
Yeah. Well, she knows
maybe you need another cat then. Derek needs to get another prescription.
Yes.
Up the dosage.
Up the dosage.
Double the dosage of cat.
Yes.
Need 4.
Yes. I would not. I don't know. I don't know if we could fit 2 cats, but yeah, someday maybe I'll have a cat that likes me as well.
Well, we're getting kind of late, but I had a few more short things. Like, what have you been reading in your Bible recently, or like for fun?
Yeah.
I've got a different question I want to ask.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just I wanted to ask because we were talking about fantasy fiction.
Ooh.
What are your favorite fantasy fiction novels?
Ooh. Well, I mean, like Lord of the Rings, classic.
We'll just assume that.
Yeah, we'll assume that. It's kind of like assuming you read your Bible every day. That's your favorite book. But I think one of the authors that I want to emulate and love the most is actually Brian Jacques Hughes, I think. But he wrote the Redwall series, so that really impacted me. And then I also really like Harry Potter. So, and then C.S. Lewis is good. And yeah, just anything that's excellent. I love. and clean.
So C.S. Lewis gets mentioned almost every single episode.
Oh.
Mostly because of me.
Okay.
But
should have a counter.
what did you think of did you read his space trilogy? Mm-hmm. What is your opinion on C.S. Lewis's space trilogy?
I loved the first one on a technical level, especially. Like, oh my gosh, such a good writer. I did not enjoy the next ones as much. Mm-hmm. The second one was good. The third one was weird.
Yeah.
But the first one, I just loved it. It's like old sci-fi vibes, and like the way he handled some of the things on the technical level was just like, oh.
I think that's a pretty accurate opinion of the space trilogy, because like the third one for me, like I really liked the first and the second one. The third one for me, I liked it, but then also like halfway through I was just like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm going to stop reading this book.
Yeah.
And then like months later I came back to it and like read the whole thing through. Mm-hmm. But it's like that was a point in my life where like that had never really happened to me with a book. Usually it was like steamrolling through the book, not being able to put it down with most books, unless like I just wasn't interested in the book and I didn't even read like more than the first chapter or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like with that book, I got like halfway through and I was like, what is That Hideous Strength? I think that's the name of the book. Or
yeah, that sounds right.
That Hideous Strength, The Hideous Strength, something like that. An article, Hideous Strength. Yes. Anyways, yeah, that book is weird. That's actually the next book series I'm going to read is the Space Trilogy. Ooh. I haven't even thought about trying to reread it for like ever. But
I'd reread the first one and maybe the second if I like had nothing else. But
yeah,
the third one, was a grind, like halfway to like the end. It was like, this has turned political and weird. And
did you
enjoy this.
Did you read C.S. Lewis's Till We Have Faces?
Yes. I did not understand it though, so I need to reread it.
Yeah. I feel like I didn't understand it either, but I really loved the book. So
isn't that strange how you can like read something you don't understand, but it makes you feel things, and then you're like, it made me feel deep things.
Yeah. That's a good one. Okay, and then the other question I had related to that is, can you give like a 30-second or 1-minute pitch for your fantasy fiction books?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, for like the series or for like
series,
book one?
the book one, whatever you feel like.
Yeah.
And what's the intended audience?
I haven't practiced. Yeah, so intended audience is definitely 14 or above. If you want to go younger than that, you'd probably want to read it first as an adult. Because it does deal with some like deeper, more difficult things. Not directly, but like it does tackle some challenges like mental illness and bullying and dealing with like how you can get mislabeled as a person and just hard stuff like that. It gets, I wouldn't say it gets dark, but it goes to like real human struggles that may not be suitable for like little kids. So I'll say that much. And then I think the basic premise of the series is about a swordsman who has to come to grips with who he is in order to be able to become the hero he needs to be to stop forces of evil that are going to take over the world. So has magic in it, has sword fights. I like to describe it as epic fantasy, but not boring. So so it has everything you love in a fantasy
book.
It
doesn't talk about the travel rations quite as much as Tolkien does.
No. No, it's made, like, number one priority is, like, I really want readers to have fun. And so it's faster paced, and I don't spend as much time on the really detailed world building stuff. And it's supposed to be, like, it's supposed to be a light read that you could enjoy over a weekend, but it has enough substance to it where it's, like, hopefully you'll walk away thinking and walk away with encouragement for your life and the real problems you face. So
seems like it'd be really hard to describe sword fights. Like,
it's my favorite part.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, then he poked him, then he poked him again. And then he poked him here.
That's actually a quote from her book.
Yeah. Well, the main character is a swordsman who doesn't like killing. So, and he's like from a race of his whole people are swordsmen, and so like his culture is based off of like Spartans and the Japanese samurai and stuff, and like what their warrior cultures was like. So it deals with a lot of that, of like being super different and not having that be understood. And
I did think the battle scenes in the book were very good. That's a hard thing to get right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, being very difficult.
Yeah.
So it's not, then he poked him.
No, it's difficult, but yeah, it's not, you don't just write, he poked him.
Then he poked him again.
No.
I'm not right.
I want to see the fantasy fiction book that you would write. Jen.
Yeah. Then he poked him on his arm. It was so terrible. Should have been there.
That would be great. That would be awesome. I would read that.
Yeah.
I was wondering, you said that one of the things you're passionate about is telling stories and helping people like go through things they're going through in their life.
Should probably wrap up.
Well, it'll be quick. I was wondering
our camera might shut off in a few minutes here.
Okay, be quick. What are some other things you're passionate about?
So I think the first thing I'm passionate about is I really love God's glory, and glory is like a pretty complicated topic. So like the facet of it that I really love the most is that God's glory is also the revelation of his character. Mm-hmm. So like anytime you learn who God is or get to know him a little bit better, that was glory. Mm-hmm. And so I just get super pumped at the idea of not only knowing God better myself and seeing that, but also it is my hope and prayer that I would be used by God to help other people also get to know him, because like there's nothing better than knowing God. So he's so amazing, it's scary.
Yes. Another thing I was wanting to ask is, if there was something you could pursue or do and you knew you wouldn't fail, what would it be? Like, what would you pursue or do?
Well, I feel like when I look back on my life, I can make a case that I have not yet succeeded at anything. So, I'm still waiting for that day. So failure is not that much of like a barrier for me. Mm-hmm. It's more like I want to try all the things, and there's just not enough time in the day for all the things like I want to do. So that's my bigger challenge, is like, okay, what are the things that align with my past passions the most and my skills the most, and then just being committed enough to like keep coming back to those and not wander off to like I could crochet. Yeah. So not gifted in crochet, by the way. I've been there, tried that.
And what has been your happiest moment so far in your life or recently?
Yeah. Well, obviously there's like getting saved.
Yeah.
And marrying the man of my dreams.
I like your dreamy eyes every time you say that.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Like so amazing. It's like, yeah. But I know, I think one of the things that makes me happiest is just like spending time with God in the morning and having him fix all my issues. Like, and all my pain and just all my baggage. And I love, was it Martin Luther who said, like, I don't know, I'm probably paraphrasing Kurt, but Kurt said, like, you know, you've had a long enough God time when you can leave happy. And
is that Charles Spurgeon?
Who said that? I don't know. I only know the Kurt version.
Some smart men.
No, I think that might have been Martin Luther. Yeah, you might be right about that.
But yeah, so like my happiest moments just being able to spend time with God and get sorted out.
Long enough for my problems.
Yes, he takes the pain away and makes me happy. So.
Yeah, awesome. Well, sorry. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Christina, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thanks for having me. It was
I
fun
think
talking to you
stellar
guys.
episode.
I think this is the most laughing we've done on an episode.
Yeah.
I could be lying about
I
that,
don't
but
know.
I think so.
We laughed a lot on a lot of the episodes, but
Okay, well, listen, because it's
this
obviously
was a
funny.
stellar episode, though.
It's not
so thank you.
interesting. It's funny.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Can't say good night.
Oh, okay. Well,